Well, welcome back to my studio. We're still in Santorini, and I apologize, the perspective looks really skewed. The horizon line is at an angle in the video, but this is because I have to have the camera at an angle to the canvas in order for you to see everything. If I didn't do it that way and had the camera directly behind me, you wouldn't be able to see. So we just have to make compromises. With that said, I showed you my paint mixtures, and I'm starting out. This is along the horizon line. This is a mixture of my mud, which is 2 parts of ultramarine blue plus 1 part of alizarin crimson that's mixed with white and more ultramarine blue. This just gives me a muted blue that goes back. Then, ooh, that's too dark, so let me add a little more white into that. This is ultramarine blue plus just a tiny bit of the purple. As I come forward, I want my colors to become, my blues in the water, to become less muted and more intense. You'll see as we work forward that that helps to give the feeling of depth in the painting. It's a little bit better. It's still a little bright, or a little dark. Get a little more white in that. Muted colors go back, more intense, brighter colors come forward. So I am making the background of the ocean more muted, and that just gives the impression of depth. We're working on a 2-dimensional flat surface, and we want it to appear 3-dimensional. So there's certain tricks and stuff we use as artists to make that happen. This is ultramarine blue plus white and just a tiny bit of that mud mixture brought in. Bring this along underneath these bluffs. I'm going to worry about that right now where the cross is. I want to get this whole area blocked in, then I'll come back in and work these details. I want to get this all covered. And I'm using a bright brush. That means it's got a square end, and I prefer these. They're I don't like the bristle brushes. They're too hard for me. I like a little softer. These are synthetic sables, and I just, again, brushes are a preference, individual preference. Some people like different ones. I've over the years come to really prefer these. So, different strokes for different folks. Now this is phthalo blue plus a little bit of the ultramarine blue. So I'm coming forward and using a little brighter color. And I'm letting these, I'm not making that transition smooth, because the ocean is, as the wind blows across it or the sunlight dances across, it gets variations. So I don't want that. The transition does not have to be smooth. Now I'm going to work around my grape leaves that I had washed in with a mixture of sap green plus liquid original, and also alizarin crimson plus liquid original, and that just gives a real luminosity to those leaves. The liquid made it dry overnight. That's a really quick drying medium that you can add to your oils, and that makes it dry overnight. But I don't want to paint over those. I want to keep that luminosity. Now I'll come back and paint those leaves opaquely, but I will still leave some of that washed area showing through. It just brings a couple a little darker. See there. Now my sunlight is coming in from the left, so it's coming in from this building and it'll pour in from behind these flowers. So So as we come up here, I want this to get a little bit lighter. That's why I'm bringing this lighter. And I'll be painting flowers over that, but I want to get that blue behind them. Now you can see that I've painted a little bit over my building, and I can take a clean brush. I've swished it out in my odorless paint thinner. Taking a clean brush and just, I can come down this and just clean up that line. You can kind of erase that paint off of there. Just lift it up. So there we go. So that's there at the building. We'll move back to the larger part of the water and start moving down. Just a little bit. I showed you all my mixtures when I first got started. And this is phthalo blue plus white. This is some of that phthalo blue plus the ultramarine blue. And my domes are going to be cobalt blue. So they'll be a little different blue and they'll stand out. Well, like I say, I'm not going to worry about this area right here near the crosses. And these bluffs in the background, they kind of reflect down into the water, so that water will also be darker under them. Let me make this a little bit lighter. So my light's coming in here. I want this light to show through the flowers. And again, flowers will be painted over this, but through the breaks in the flowers, you'll see the water behind. I'm getting lighter here because the sun is streaming in and it's really hitting this area. This is a little phthalo blue plus ultramarine blue. And again, that just gives me that variation in the water. Now I'm going to take a clean brush, I've wiped it with my tissue, and I just pull across, and that softens these transitions. Again, I don't want to just blend them in and totally smooth it, but I just want to soften them. Because that water, soft edges go back, hard edges come forward. There's just lots of little things we can do. Now this is a new mixture of, this is phthalo turquoise blue plus white. And this is even more intense than my phthalo blue. So that again is bringing the water that's just coming forward. And that water in the Aegean Sea really is just so intense. This is going to be down behind my palms. And this is my initial block in. I'll be doing a little more detail in this. I don't have the time to show you in one video. If you'll watch my blog, if you'll subscribe to my blog, I show the complete step-by-step process of my paintings on my blog. The link is in the description below. And you can follow this entire painting on my blog. I'm painting for several days on this, so I can't show it in my video. But if you'll follow my blog, I have descriptions, I have recipes for my paint mixtures. There's a lot of information there. So go to my blog and subscribe to it. You'll get an email every time I make a new post. But that's the best way to follow my paintings and to see what the finished paintings look like. This is going to really, the light's going to hit the water down here. It's just going to glow behind these dark, dark palms and then the building, the church building. Now this is a darker mixture of my phthalo turquoise blue. Again, I'm going to have sweet potato vine with those heart-shaped leaves tumbling out of that pot. As those waves come in, there's a lot of movement in the water, and these different hues, these different values of my paint color just help give that indication. And here's some of my phthalo blue coming in here. There's a lot of variation. If you'll look at the ocean, there's a lot of variation in the colors. These white buildings will just pop against this color back here. Again, I want to add some darks in here. Big brush and clean it out. You can see how that just smooths those brush strokes down just a little bit. I don't want a lot of texture back there because texture draws your eye. So we want the texture. There's going to be a lot of texture in these trees and these flowers, and that will make them come forward of the smoother texture in the background of the ocean. So I really appreciate you watching my YouTube videos. Please again subscribe to my blog, subscribe to my YouTube videos. Feel free to ask questions. I'm always happy to answer, and you can make them in the comments section. I also have a comment section on my blog, and you can ask questions there. So you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And again, thank you for following, and happy painting.